Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Journey Latin America's virtual travel club. Tonight we'll be venturing south to Argentina, a vast country where glaciers, granite peaks, and emerald lakes dominate the south, and lush rainforests, horizon-bending pampas, and the wildlife-rich wetlands cover the north. But apart from the amazing, awe-inspiring landscapes, Argentina also has lots of wonderful things to offer. It's home to incredible wildlife, world-famous wines, and of course, diverse cultures. Joining us this evening is one of our most knowledgeable travel experts, Mary Nelson. And I'm also delighted to welcome David Nichols, our product manager for Journey Latin America. David will be on hand at the end of the talk to answer any questions that you may have, and Mary will be delivering our presentation. So Mary, without further ado, over to you.
Thank you, Laura. Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for coming this evening, and welcome back to those who have seen us before. We're going to go to Argentina this time, so without further ado, let me begin with a quick video to just showcase a little bit of the country. Well, I hope that gave you a bit of a thirst for knowledge of the country, and let's just go into more detail. I'm going to talk a little bit about us, Journey Latin America, and then we're going to go through the main highlights of the country. And then I'm just going to talk a little bit about why book with us. What about me? I've been working for Journey Latin America for 16 years already. But I'm originally Chilean. I was born in the Atacama Desert. You would think that I would prefer Chile to Argentina, but frankly, I just love that country as much as my own. I am a travel expert, and my favorite destination other than Chile, obviously, is Antarctica, but Argentina is one of them anyway. So enough about me. About us. Most of you would know about Journey Latin America. We've been in the industry for, this year is going to be 41 years. We specialize both in tailor-made and escorted group tours, and we have won several accolades and prizes along the years. So we are a good company for you to travel with. And all of us know the countries, all the continent very well, and we certainly know what we're talking about. Tailor-Made Holidays, as the name implies, obviously we do pretty much what you prefer us to do. We organize the itinerary according to what you want to do, on the length you want, on the places you want to visit, within within what's possible. Obviously, we have a huge range of accommodation from 3-star to 5-star and plus. And we have loads of different itineraries that you could, as example itineraries that you can check on our website. As for group tours, we have two types, the classic journeys and discovery journeys. We have several departures, several tours with about 180 departures a year. We work with a minimum of 4 people on our groups, and a maximum currently of 12 people. This is due to COVID restrictions. There's always going to be led by a Journey Latin America tour leader. And for those who want to travel on their own, if you're willing to share, then you will be you would not need to pay a single supplement. About Argentina. How to get there? You can fly directly with British Airways. That will be the easiest way, really. It's about 14 hours flight departed from London Heathrow, but you can also fly with Iberia via Madrid or with Air France via Paris. If you want to combine with other countries, you can go to Santiago, for example, Rio de Janeiro or Sao Paulo. So what's about Argentina that is so interesting for all of us? It's something that offers something for everyone. So you have great cities like Buenos Aires, like Salta, and some others. You have amazing national parks. Argentina has about 30 national parks in the whole country or more. It's great for wildlife. It's great for culture as well. It has really diverse culture in the whole country. So it's really interesting for you to immerse on that. If you like self-drive, it's great for that as well. Fantastic landscape. It's good for soft adventure and a little bit more hardcore adventure as well. And obviously, for those who like your beef and like your wines, it's just the best place for you to go. It's easy to combine with other countries. I decided to put each one of the countries that you could combine it with. So you can go to Paraguay, you can go to Uruguay, just over the river. You have several crossings with Chile as well. Through the Iguazu Falls, you can go to Brazil, and you can go on the northern part with Bolivia. And of course, from the south, usually all the cruises depart for Antarctica. So these are the main highlights. The way I'm going to do this tonight, we're going to start with Buenos Aires, and then we're going to start moving anti-clockwise. So we're going to do Iguazu Falls first, then we're going to move to Salta and the northwest. Mendoza, the wineries, the Lake District, Southern Patagonia, Tierra del Fuego, and then Peninsula Valdez. But just to give you a few pointers about the country, it is the 8th biggest country in the world, so you can fit Britain 11 times. And that's important to keep in mind when you want to perhaps travel by road. It's possible, but it would take a while. The temperatures are quite varied as well. You have, as it says there, the hottest and coldest ever recorded have been in Argentina. And one of the interesting facts is the glacier in the south, of which I'm going to talk later. It is the only one that's growing instead of shrinking. So that's really interesting. Also, in Argentina, you have Aconcagua, which is the highest peak in the Western Hemisphere. I must admit that as a Chilean, that's always been something that we grudge a little bit because it's in between the countries. But if you want to climb it, you have to go to Argentina for that. So starting with Buenos Aires, great location on the mouth of the River Plate, obviously the capital city. You want to stay a bare minimum of 2 nights, but I would say you want 3 or even 4 because there's loads of things to see. It has really distinctive neighborhoods. So it's actually really interesting to stay not just in one place, but you can stay, if you have to stay in Buenos Aires, you want to stay in 2 different neighborhoods or even 3, because they're all very, very different. It is also where tango started. You have fantastic food, and you can from there, you can go to both Uruguay and different estancias. So this is just a general idea. You have on your left, you have the Avenida 9 de Julio, which is one of the biggest actually roads in the world. It's a massive one, and you have the obelisk in the middle. The picture on your bottom right is Puerto Madero, the Keys, and then you have the Casa Rosada at the top. And these are different things to see in Argentina. You have tango at the top, you have the parrilladas, which is where you eat beef galore at the bottom. So it's an amazing city to visit. It's interesting. It has a lot to offer. The culture scene is really good here as well. So it's worth visiting for a bit. From Buenos Aires, you normally go to visit estancias. Now, you normally would hear about the Pampas. It's not a tiny area. The Pampas is a huge area, which is why I put this map so you can see how much it covers. But obviously, you would go to the nearest places to Buenos Aires, where you can have your great barbecue. You can play polo if you like horses. Some of them would specialize in that. But the idea is that you have the gaucho way of life, and you have these amazing landscapes like the one at the bottom. Then going up to the falls, this is what the Iguazu Falls shared with Brazil. You want to stay here for at least 2 or 3 nights. When you visit the Argentina side of the falls, that is a full-day excursion, and it really is just the most incredible place. Some people say, I've seen waterfalls before. This is just incredible. It's big. is amazing, and also is a great place to get wet. So this is just a bit of a glimpse of what it is. I don't know whether you can see in the top left corner, there's this line that crosses on the top of the picture. That really is the same as on the middle picture at the bottom. That is the gate, the walkways to see the Devil's Throat. The Devil's Throat is when you can see the force of these falls. It's just really incredible. But you can also see a lot of wildlife there. And if you really want to get wet, you can go on this boat trip at the bottom of the on the right hand bottom picture. You won't get under the actual waterfall because you might die. It's a little bit too much, but you can go. You get near them and you visit some of the lesser waterfalls. It's a must see in Argentina. Definitely place to go. Now, as an aside, from Iguazu, you could also visit. This is a full day journey to get here, but the Ibera wetlands is like the Pantanal of Argentina. The wildlife here is absolutely stunning, really is incredible. So if you have the time, it's a place that you can visit. As I said, it's a journey from Iguazu, but it takes a full day, or it's a flight from Buenos Aires as well. It's a relatively short flight. Moving on, we go towards the Andes to Salta, also known as Salta la Linda, which means the beautiful. It is a beautiful place, actually. And it's a really interesting city because it's very different from the rest of the country, where you have these different sort of culture, is unique blend of Spanish and indigenous culture. So it's more, it will remind you more of places in Bolivia, for example, than the rest of the country. The colonial architecture is pretty impressive, but it's really the cultural heritage is unique. Also here you have the famous empanadas, which is food in Salta, empanadas salteñas. You have to try them. And also you have a fantastic white wine called Torrontés, and is a high altitude wine, of which I will show you a few pictures after that, but it's worth visiting. Also here you have the train to the clouds, which is one of the highest trains in the world, is 4,220 meters above sea level. So it's worth staying here. You want to stay if you just go to Salta, this is Salta, the city. You can stay here for 3 nights, but ideally you want to visit more because you want to visit this kind of landscape. This is the northern part of the Northwest, Humahuaca Gorge, Pumamarca. And the picture in the middle bottom is actually an area which is a bit further into the mountains. It's really off the beaten track. It's called Puna. And is for, if you're looking at venture, because accommodation is a little bit more basic, but really is just out of this world. And it's an area that you would never think you could see. Then this is the southern part of the Northwest, is the Calchaquís Valleys, Cachi and the Calchaquís Valleys. It's great for self-drive, by the way. And this is where you have all the wineries, like the top pictures show. And this is where Torrontés is made. It really is a fantastic wine. I suggest you give it a try. But yeah, you can spend here a week easily driving around this area. Going down south, and that we're still talking about wines, is Mendoza. It's a short flight from Buenos Aires or crossing from Santiago in Chile. It's really easy to get to. You want to stay a couple of nights at a winery, and this is where Malbec is made specifically. But it's also good for some people who like adventure, because you can do some river rafting, you can do hiking, cycling, and mountaineer for those who actually have the guts and go and climb Aconcagua, which is, by the way, very difficult climb. Interesting things about Mendoza itself. It received very, very little rain, actually. It's about 10 inches rain a year, but they get the water from the melted snow from the Andes, because as you can see in the picture in the middle top, the location is just right by the foothills of the Andes. So it's an area that you're going to have 300 days of sunshine. It's really a beautiful area, and you really want to stay here and chill, have that beautiful view and some wine. The funny thing is, it's nearer to Santiago than to Buenos Aires, which means that the accent is less strong than the one in Buenos Aires. Almost similar to Chilean, but not quite as much. Then continuing south, this is the Lake District. So the place that is better known would be San Carlos de Bariloche in the south is, well, Bariloche, but also includes Villa Langostura and further north, San Martin de los Andes. Now, the beauty of this area is obviously the amount of lakes. Bariloche is located by the Lake Nahuel Huapi, and it really is a stunning area. It's so beautiful. It's great for soft adventure as well. It's good for hiking, rafting. You can do horse riding. During the winter, it's a ski resort. And you can do self-drive tours here as well. So you can spend, say, 3 nights in Bariloche, but if you have more time, it's great to drive around this area. And it is a very popular way of doing so. So here is the kind of landscape you will see. This is the northern part of the Lake District near San Martin de los Andes, which is the city you will see in the middle picture at the top. The reason I'm showing the picture, in particular the picture of the road at the bottom, is just you can see how the landscape is really. If you cross from Chile when you have this thick forest, or even if you're coming from the south of the Lake District, you have this incredible open landscape where the sky goes all the way over there. It's just so amazing and breathtaking that you just stop everywhere to take all these pictures. And the big picture, the one on the left-hand side, that's Lanín volcano. It's pretty elusive, so it's not easy to take pictures of that. I was very lucky to be able to take that picture. It's a fantastic place to visit. And then you continue going south, and you have these national parks. So you have Bariloche, the bottom left, the location by the lake. And then obviously you have all these other lake views from everywhere, and you would take as many pictures as you can. It's picture postcard, so beautiful. Also in the middle picture at the bottom, you have the Arajanes Woods. It's just this tree is so beautiful. It's endemic and it's worth a visit. It's like a fairy tale area. And you could take soft adventure here. You can just go for hikes, you can relax. But if you want some more, you can go horse riding, you can go hiking, and you can have that kind of landscape when you just sit to rest and relax. During the winter is a ski resort, as you can see here, but obviously the chairlifts are used during the summer, so you can go to Cerro Catedral to see this beautiful landscape, just beautiful views from there. Then moving down south, continuing with the tour, we go to southern Patagonia. This is what would normally you would consider going to El Calafate. So it comprises, as you can see in the map on the right, the Lago Argentino is the Los Glaciares National Park. You have El Calafate at the bottom, and then if you continue on this Route 40 and go around Lago Viedma, you can get to El Cheltenham. Normally people would say, I would consider staying 2 nights, 3 nights. You can visit the Perito Mourinho Glacier, which is one of the highlights, the main highlight here, but it's fantastic scenery as well. It's so beautiful. You have glaciers here, you have some wildlife. It's great for hiking. It's fantastic for photography. And it's also good for self-drive, actually. If you feel adventurous, you can visit estancias here. So you can go from estancia to estancia and do some fantastic self-drive. You can have self-adventure, you can have hardcore adventure if you're a mountaineer. And it's a good area to cross over to Chile to visit Torres del Paine. So it's kind of the other side of the coin, as it were. You sometimes from some areas in El Calafate, you can see all the way to the Torres del Paine in Chile. So this is the kind of landscape you will find when you go to Calafate. The picture on your left is the Calafate from the lake towards the city, and then you have just a little picture on the top right. But this is just to give you an idea of the kind of landscape you will see. The main attraction, Perito Mourinho Glacier, that's actually it's not shrinking, the opposite. It's a fantastic place. So you can visit this as a day trip. You can go on the walkways, or you can go on a boat and get a little bit near the glacier. Or if you're more adventurous, you can go on a hike. So you can go and do a little bit of a mini trekking on the glacier. I recommend that. It's a fantastic thing. It's a fantastic feeling to be up there and just walking on one of the biggest glaciers that you can visit. It's really fantastic. But this is not the only thing you can do in Calafate. So you can do some horse riding, you can go to an estancia and do that, or you can go to this other There's other cruises or boat trips that you can do to the other glaciers as well, because you have Perito Mourinho is on one side, but then you have other arms of the lakes, and you can do that as well. And it's great for some trekking. And as you can see on the top pictures, also the self-drive is incredible. The bottom picture is just to show you the kind of landscape you will see when you drive. You will stop all the time to just take pictures of this incredible landscape. Mind you, the weather is very changeable, as always in Patagonia. You can have 4 seasons in one day, so you need to be aware of that. But once you're prepared, you just enjoy this place. So this is Cheltenham. It's a very, very small village you have the shadow of Cheltenham mountain overlooking it. It's just incredibly beautiful. You have the national park here, and it's trekking central. You don't have to be hardcore. You can just do really easy treks. The trails are really easy marked as well. You can go on your own, or you can have a guide who's going to point out the interesting areas and a little bit of the fauna and flora. If you're a little bit more hardcore, you can go for bigger hikes. You can do some rock climbing here, and or you can just climb. You can go on glaciers as well, and obviously you can have a drink. I couldn't resist putting my picture there because I was having a drink on top of the glacier, and it's just a fantastic feeling. Beautiful area, thoroughly recommended as well. Then continue down south is Ushuaia, the end of the world. I do have to say one thing. It is the southernmost city in the world, I would say. Not the southernmost settlement, because that honor would fall to Chile, but as a city, that would be Ushuaia. It's surprising when you fly there and you get off the plane, how high the mountains are in Ushuaia. Is something that you wouldn't expect to see. It really is incredible, and it's fantastic for exploration. So Ushuaia normally is the gateway for Antarctic cruises, but it's worth staying here a little bit more, and you can explore actually Tierra del Fuego itself, not just the city, and it's great for wildlife. So this is the setting of the city, so you can see how big those mountains are, and so beautiful as well. It's you feel that remoteness of the area when you get there, and you know that you have the Beagle Channel, and then that's it, and then a few islands, and then Antarctica and the end of the world. So that feeling is something you can experience when you go there. And ideally, as well as being in the city, which is, by the way, has great restaurants, which is something that you would find that anywhere in Argentina. The landscape around is fantastic. So you have the national park, La Pataya National Park. You have this train, the train at the end of the world. But you can also visit penguin colonies, sea lion colonies. If you're not going to Antarctica, for example, you can just come and visit this. You can do excursions on the Beagle Channel. You can see, these shipwrecks on the shores. It's one of those places that you feel kind of small, but you feel that you are at the end of the world, and you just want to stay there and just gaze in the horizon, as it were. So it's worth visiting. If it's great if you're going on an Antarctic cruise. It's good to stay here for a couple of days, even or just stay there for 3 nights and visit these other areas. There's also a really good trek that is where you can camp. Actually, it's about 3 nights, and you can do some camping at the end of the world. So it's a bit for everybody as well. Then continuing up, you go to the Peninsula Valdez. This is it's also a remote area. The wildlife here, you come here for the wildlife, which is absolutely fantastic. It's remote, but it's incredible. And you want to stay here 2 full days, actually. So I would say 3 nights, because you want to visit the peninsula itself at the top, but you also want to visit the penguin colonies, which are to the south of Trelew. But this is also Welsh Patagonia. So for those who are interested in that part of history, is worth a visit. Welsh people like to come here because they want to see where they arrive. And you will find that some people, they're still Welsh speaking, and they have their name in Welsh and their name in Spanish. Is really interesting to see. But this is a kind of wildlife you're going to find in Peninsula Valdez. It's mesmerizing, and you just want to stay there for hours and hours on end at watching it. You can see whale watching, you can see sea lion colonies, flamingos, birds, penguins. It's beautiful, and this is the kind of landscape you see. So I'm showing this picture so you can have an idea of that kind of stark windswept area, and you think, oh my God, nothing would grow there, but it's so rich with wildlife that it's incredible. So it's also another area worth visiting. And so when to go to Argentina? Well, we tend to have this idea that Argentina might be just for the summer months in the southern hemisphere. But as a matter of fact, I would say it's a whole year destination, because yes, Buenos Aires will be very cold during the months, say from June to September, maybe, or mostly July, August. But the northwest is fantastic during that time. So you can visit during the dry season, because it tends to have the same issues like in all the Andean regions, where you have some rain during January and February. Not a lot, but you have some. So, and it's fantastic for the rest. But then the southern part is fantastic during December, January, February, March. However, the autumn months are fantastic for the south as well, because you have the changing of the colors, and it's a bit quieter. But also September, November is the whale season in Valdez Peninsula, so also you want to visit there. And if you like to experience some skiing in South America, then you have the Lake District during winter. So really, it's something that you can go any time of the year. For example, you can go in the harvest in Mendoza during March. So there's so many things that you can visit at any time of the year that it would be a whole year destination. Just as an example, I'm giving you here, there's an escorted tour, our Gaucho Vintage Argentina. I'm showing this one because it's the one that goes to the north, to the northwest. So it's kind of easy to combine from Buenos Aires going to Iguazu, Salta, Mendoza. You can then cross into Santiago. This one crosses into Santiago. But if you can do that as a tailor-made as well, and you can just go back to Buenos Aires, or just take the escorted tour group as it is. And this is our signature private journey in Argentina that actually showcase the main highlights. You can book this trip as it is, which is in our website, or you can take this as an idea and then build up more areas if you want to. But just to give you some sort of ideas of what's possible to do in a couple of weeks in Argentina. Finally, why would you like to use us? As I said before, and I keep saying, it's because we are the best, obviously, and because we know the area. We've been doing this for 41 years. All of us know we either come from Latin America, or we are, or we visit, or some people have lived there. But we visit it every year. We have great documentation. We have very good local partners, which we have selected, throughout all this time, and we know each other really well. And we also have a 24/7 emergency number. You have all financial protection. Very important for this time is the flexible booking policy, by the way, which you can find out all of that in the website, or I can give you more information if you want to. And we have a great travel app, by the way, which will give you every single piece of information you need when you are there. Maps, tapes, where to go, how to do it, what about the weather or your flights, etc., etc. So yeah, I hope you enjoy that. And to end our journey, I'm just going to invite you for our next virtual travel club. It's going to be to Costa Rica on the 9th of March. You said 9th of March. So I hope you will be there to join us. Over to you, Laura. Thank you very much for paying attention tonight.
Hi, Mary. That was amazing. We've had lots of incredible questions coming through. Really inspiring talk, really detailed, and certainly it's given me plenty of inspiration to now start planning my next trip to Argentina when I get there. Just before we go over to the Q&A session, I wanted to ask you something. After a really busy itinerary of visiting all these amazing sites, is there anywhere you would suggest to unwind for a few nights to relax?
Yeah, absolutely. the Lake District, Bariloche, is a fantastic place to relax. I know I made it sound that it could be very busy, but actually it's really, really chilled. I forgot to say that in Bariloche, the chocolates are really good, by the way. So if you want to have your chocolate and your really nice glass of wine, just chilling, looking at the lake, it's great. And actually you can swim in the lake. That's a fantastic place. But also if you want to do that at the end of the trip, once you're back to Buenos Aires, you can go to an estancia. So you don't necessarily have to be a great horse rider or perhaps not even like beef. It's a great place to unwind. You can go for gentle walks. They have a nice swimming pool. So yeah, an estancia for a couple of days is perfect for R&R at the end of a trip.
Great, Mary. I'll certainly be taking up that recommendation. David, may I ask if you would have the same recommendation, or perhaps you have somewhere else you might want to suggest?
Yep, I'd second what Mary said, Laura. I'd also probably consider going over to Mendoza and spending a few days at a winery. It can be very relaxing. The food there is fantastic. They've got a great gourmet tourism scene going on in Mendoza at the moment, and world-class hotels in which to enjoy it.
Okay, great. No, that sounds superb. So I'm just going to go over to the Q&A session. We've got also some questions coming in with the chat. So let's bear with me. Let's see. So beautiful pictures, but are they full of tourists in season? Yeah. So that's a good question, Mary. What would you? When is sort of the busiest time to visit Argentina?
Well, you would find a lot of tourism during the major months of January and February, in particular in the south, Lake District, Patagonia, for two reasons, mostly because it's the height of the summer, but also because normal locals tend to holiday at home as well. So if you don't want to have throngs of tourists, go in the shoulder seasons. So for example, March, April, great time to go to everywhere in the whole country. So, you know, or perhaps in November, you're always going to find some tourists around, but it's less busy at that time, I think.
That sounds great, Mary. Thank you. Another question that we have is, are we optimistic that the improving COVID situation will render travel to Patagonia possible and safe in late autumn? So looking at traveling November and onwards.
Well,
David, perhaps, or Mary, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, we all hope so, but unfortunately, we just don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But we're hoping that's going to happen. I don't know, David, any ideas?
Yes, at the moment, we're optimistic that we'll be able to send clients to Patagonia in both Chile and Argentina in the autumn. But at the moment, obviously, we can't be sure of what the situation will be. But given the improving situation in this country, we're optimistic that travel restrictions may be eased later in the year that will allow some people to travel.
That's great, David. Thank you very much. And as always, we're always monitoring the situation closely and keeping in contact with our tour leaders on the ground and local suppliers. Okay, so how about Antarctica cruises? Are they open all year round? And is it possible to book them when you arrive in Ushuaia?
Ideally, you don't want to do that. They're not open all year round because Antarctica is a no-go area during the winter months. It's just impossible to get there. It's snowed, it's dark. Only the researchers in there would stay there. So the Antarctic season would start in late October, David, if I'm not mistaken. You better than me on that, till early March. If you have plenty of time, if you really have plenty of time and you don't mind spending 2 or 3 weeks in Ushuaia, you might be able to book it when you get there if there is a chance. But unless you have, unless you have to come back at some point, I would definitely suggest booking it way before, 6 months at least or more.
Yeah, I would agree with that. David, any feedback on that?
I agree entirely with what Mary said. Book as far in advance as possible, especially if you're looking at going in the very peak season of January, February. But yeah, agree.
Great. So we're being asked what's included in our tour prices. So the prices advertised on our website, they include domestic flights, transfers, excursions, where they're detailed, and also the standard of accommodation, of course, which is usually on a B&B basis, unless you're in a location that's quite remote and there's no other option but to eat in the hotel. And then we would include full board. So I think the major cost that you have to factor in when you're looking at the cost of a holiday on our website are the international flights. But certainly, if you get in touch with us, we can look at the time of the year that you want to travel, check the availability, give you a price there and then. Okay, so what's the best time to see the falls at their fullest, David?
I would go during the wet season months, or rainier season anyway. So we're looking at the latter part of the year, December, January, February, especially there's a good volume of water, then can be spectacular. But to be quite honest, no matter what time you go to Iguazu Falls, you'll be impressed, especially if you have never been to see the falls before. If you go later on in the year when there might be less volume of water coming over the falls, then they can be equally beautiful. The water looks whiter, and also it's much less oppressively warm. If you go January, February, it's really, really warm and tropical. Don't worry too much because there's plenty of spray to cool you down as you walk around the park.
Yeah, I remember the first group tour that I led, Jacana, traveling from Rio to Peru, and we went via the Iguazu Falls. And of course, we were seeing some incredible highlights, Rio de Janeiro, Machu Picchu, Lake Titicaca. And the group hadn't anticipated how beautiful and stunning the Iguazu Falls were going to be. And I had clients then mentioning to me, oh, I've been to Niagara and I didn't really think, the Iguazu Falls were going to be that tremendous or magnificent. And I think it's one of those places that really takes people by surprise. It's not until you're actually there and surrounded by, 270 odd cataracts that, it's just a really mesmerizing place to see. We've been asked quite a bit about border crossings going from Argentina to Chile. We know that Argentina and Chile are a really popular combination of holiday to have. Mary, do you have any suggestions about how easy it is to cross the borders in terms of paperwork? Is it something that can be easily done, or do you have to sort of go through lots of red tape before crossing?
No, not at all. Not at all. It's really easy. They're crossing, the people are crossing all the time, every day. The only thing to consider is depending on weather, if something's going to happen on the actual road when it rains in the north. But no, not at all. The crossings are really easy. All they need to do is just to have your passport, and they stamp your passport, off you go. So, the only consideration is how many people are going to be in the queue.
Great. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. How about the food, especially for vegetarians? Obviously, we know that Argentinians are big fans of their meat and their paelladas. And what's it like for vegetarians? Are there many options now?
Yeah, it's absolutely fine. We just need to know in advance, in particular, if they're going to go somewhere like an estancia, for example. But other than that, it's absolutely fine. Hotels everywhere, they cater for everyone.
Yeah, we're also being asked, when will South America open up in general for tourism? That's the $1 million question. We're hoping, we had the news yesterday about the easing of lockdown here in the UK or in England. So we're hoping that obviously that the situation will eventually, improve throughout South America. But knowing when it's going to be open, it's really difficult to pinpoint. We're optimistic for our autumn, so October, November, but we're obviously having to monitor the situation and checking how the situation will improve. David, Mary, any thoughts on that?
No more than what you said. It's fine.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. When is the Argentinian football season, and are tickets easy to come by? Now, actually, I don't know if David and Mary are football fans, but what I do know is that the Copa America, which is probably not the Argentinian football season, but the Copa America is like Champions League. And so, it was due to be held, I believe, in Colombia last year, and now it's being held in Argentina, between Argentina and Colombia this year, and that's taking place in June. So I don't know if that helps answer your question. David, do you have any ideas of when Boca Juniors and the other teams play?
I believe that they have two periods when they play football in Argentina. I think it's between March and June. There's one season, and there's a second season that begins in the late summer and goes on until around December. But they have a summer league as well. So I believe you can see football for much of the year in Argentina. Getting tickets shouldn't present too many difficulties, but if you wanted to see a super derby match between River Plate and Boca, for example, then you'd really have to, you'd need a stroke of luck to get to see one of those.
Okay, thanks, David. A question on Buenos Aires. When is a good time to go there? Looking for mild temperatures, minimal crowds, or almost the opposite? Are there any festivals?
Yeah, well, the festivals you have in August, you have a tango festival there. And there's also the Gaucho festivals, I think, David, if I'm not mistaken, in November, and they have the Polo Open and Gaucho festivals. Now, the times where it's horrendously hot, but I'm talking about really hot, is January and February, the height of the summer. We're talking about 40 degrees or so. So if you want milder temperatures, you want to go away, you got to go, something like, I would say October. Even then in October is hot. But September, October will be milder. And then you want to say April, May, because it could be very, very humid and hot during the hot summer.
Great, thanks, Mary. This is going to be quite a tricky question to answer. Chilean Lake District versus the Torres del Paine, or the Argentinian Lake District. So which is prettier? Is there any difference? Or which one is more spectacular?
So we're talking about two different areas here, completely different, because if you're talking about the Lake District in either Chile or Argentina, or you're talking, and Torres del Paine, is that the question?
So having been to the Chilean Lake District and Torres del Paine,
okay.
Is there any difference?
Right.
So lakes versus mountain peaks?
Let's say the mountains might be a little bit lower in the south, in the area of Torres del Paine and all that, although it's darker. So if you, depending on how adventurous you are, if you like mountains or you want to go to the mountains, for example, it's more challenging to go down south. The Torres del Paine, both Torres del Paine and Calafate, which is kind of a different side of the coins, they're both windswept areas. They're more dramatic in a way. Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, really. I love them both, and I think they're all beautiful in their own way. The Lake District could be, you could say, it's a little bit gentler in a way, but it's also the most beautiful picture postcard scenery, where you have all these incredible lakes that dotted the surrounding area. So and obviously it's lusher as well. You have more wooded areas. So if you like that sort of lush wood greenery, the Lake District will be best. If you like dramatic scenery with windswept and the feeling of remoteness, then the further south will be best. But it depends on what your preferences are. I wouldn't say one is more beautiful than the other. I think they're different, and for me, both amazingly beautiful.
Yeah, they're both very different. Okay, so flight routings. If you wanted to avoid a long 14-hour direct flight, is there a better routing so that you're only traveling 6 to 7 hours rather than 13 to 14? So avoiding perhaps going via the US or Europe. Is there a way around it?
From Europe, anyway, from Europe is going to be at least 12 hours anyway, because you have to cross the Atlantic and you just have to go all the way down. Even if you fly from Europe to Brazil, to make it a little bit short, it's not going to be that short. But you do have to consider that you have to make up the distance from one place to another one. Going via the US, you're still going to have 9 hours, and then another 9 hours south. So it's a difficult one to avoid. I'm not sure. What do you think, David? I think you still have to.
Yes, it's hard to avoid a long journey to get to Argentina. I'd say it's definitely worth the journey. The BA flight is now going to be stopping in Sao Paulo on the way, which has added an additional touchdown to get to Buenos Aires. But it still is, in my opinion, a comfortable way to get there. The ability to upgrade to a premium economy seat will make the journey more comfortable. Alternatively, by going via Madrid, you'll reduce the long haul leg to around 11 hours, which will give you a break to stretch your leg in Madrid. But it would be hard to break it down into bite-sized chunks of 7 hours or so, unless perhaps you flew first of all into Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, which would take you just under 11 hours, and then did the classic hop from there to the Iguazu Falls, and then down to Buenos Aires from there or elsewhere in Argentina. That in itself is a fantastic trio of highlights, even if you've only got 10 days.
That's a great suggestion, David. How about mosquitoes around the falls? Are they a problem? Mary?
I don't recall them being a problem, to be honest, maybe because you get so wet. but it will hardly be an issue. I don't recall, actually. I don't think there's much of a problem, depending on when you go, in any case. But do you have any memories of that, David? I don't have any memories of that.
I don't remember having had any issues with mosquitoes actually at the Iguazu Falls. I mean, I always tend to wear repellent.
Yeah.
You know, I'm always fairly careful, but it's a sort of subtropical rainforest destination. So you're just, I believe, just outside the tropics there. But you need to take precautions against mosquitoes, but you shouldn't have too many problems.
No, I certainly didn't have any problems when I was there in July, August, so their wintertime, and it's still pretty hot. But yeah, I didn't have any issues with mosquitoes. But yeah, you're right, it's very advisable to make sure you cover up and have repellent just in case. Are extensions to group tours self-guided, or is there a guide to support them when they're in the local area? Extensions to group tours. David?
We can put together an extension in whichever way that you like. If you'd like a bit more freedom, then we can easily put together an extension comprising transfers and hotels for you to explore independently or semi-independently, or we would put a guide in each place for you. That's the beauty of our tailor-made product. We can be as flexible as you like. What you wouldn't always have would be a tour leader with you full time, which is what you would have had during the group tour part of your holiday. But I think most clients find that change of traveling style really interesting across the whole scope of their holiday. So maybe 2 weeks traveling with the group and a tour leader. After that time, you might feel more confident to spend a few days sort of semi-independently at the end of your trip. But we talk to us, and we'll put together something along the lines of what you're looking for.
Great, thank you, David. We're also being asked about festivals going ahead in 2021. Might they be cancelled? We know that Rio Carnival, that was supposed to start last weekend or the weekend prior, obviously was cancelled owing to COVID. But do we think that remaining festivals in Argentina or elsewhere in Latin America, perhaps the bigger ones, perhaps Day of the Dead in Mexico, might be going ahead? I guess it's still early days.
Yeah. It's very early days, I'm afraid. I mean, the Copa America, in fact, which is in mid-June, they still haven't started selling the tickets for that. Even with the Tango Festival in August in Buenos Aires, we don't yet know whether that will happen or not. Later on in the year, one would expect to find more chance of things taking place, but at the moment it's too early to say. We haven't had a final word on that yet.
Okay, thanks, David. If you're traveling solo and not all meals are included in the itinerary, how easy is it to find a restaurant on your own, and particularly if you're a woman on your own? Do most hotels on the JLA itinerary have restaurants?
Yes, and if they don't, we specify that. But in general, you won't find any problems finding a restaurant anywhere, really. Food is important in Argentina, and you're always going to find really, really good restaurants. If by any chance the hotels wouldn't have a restaurant, they can suggest one. We also always send a list of restaurants in the travel app. So if they want to if they want to know a little bit more, you can find them there with a full description, the location, the map, everything, how to get there. And for a woman, you wouldn't have a problem. There's obviously places in every single place in the world when you shouldn't go as a human being on your own in general, but you wouldn't have a problem. The times have been there. Never been an issue, really.
Super. Well, I think that's wrapping up all the questions. Does anybody else have any more questions that they would like to ask us? I'll have to, I've just got to quickly go back to the other window to see if there's any more questions. Great. No, I think we were getting some really, I don't know, Mary, if you can see the feedback, but we've had some wonderful feedback about your talk. Everyone has lots of comments about how much they've enjoyed your talk this evening. So, so no, that's tremendous. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you.
Sorry, one question. How big is the single supplement? I guess that on a group tour, it's going to depend on the group tours. So we have two different styles of group tours. We have the discovery journeys and the classic tours. Our discovery journeys stay in more or less 2 to 3 star accommodation, and our classic journeys use upper end hotels, so 4-star standard approximately. So it's going to depend on the itinerary and the duration, but certainly you can contact us and we can give you the cost for the single supplement, or you can have a look on the website, and we can, it's detailed there. Or alternatively, if you're happy to share, then there's no single supplement cost. So yeah, we can always work out, and if it's for tailor-made, we would work out the single supplement cost for you. Great. And yes, we will be following up with an email to you in the next couple of days to thank you for attending this evening, and you will be able to see the recording. So we're recording this and it will be available on the email that we sent to you. Thank you ever so much, everyone. We're going to wrap up this webinar, and please do join us for the 9th of March next Virtual Travel Club, which will be focusing on Costa Rica, and we'll be joined by Ben Line. We're going to give Mary a bit of time off. She did Chile a couple of weeks ago in Argentina, so yeah, she's having a bit of a break. So yeah, please do join us for Costa Rica on the 9th of March. Okay. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, David. Good evening.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, everyone.
bye-bye now.
Bye.
Okay, bye.